Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about Photoshop again. Primarily I do get a lot of requests from people who struggle with backgrounds. This is always a big issue, especially when you have a small studio, you don't have a lot of space to sort of lay the athlete out on the canvas and shoot what you want. Also, usually when you're doing action photos, you'd never get the athlete to do exactly what you're trying to accomplish, which is to get him right in that sweet spot in the middle of the canvas. If he's doing, if he's jumping, for example, or she's jumping, you'll get their head appearing above the canvas or the background, and you got to fix these things. So here I'm going to just show you some of my quick techniques that I use to get rid of backgrounds. Now, I've been doing this for decades, so I'll probably make it look a little easy, but I'll try to go slow. My goal is always to show you the quickest, simplest way that I've discovered to get a job done. The idea is not to actually make Photoshop look cool or complicated. I want it to be simple. And primarily I use two tools, patch tool and a clone tool, and I'm going to show you how I use them now. So I'm not going to waffle on about what I do, but I'm going to show you right now. So this is what we're trying to ultimately create. This is where we start, and then that's it. I'm showing you how quick we can get this done. All right, so I'm going to show you two things. I'm just going to clean off the background, and the second part is just going to show you a simpler, cleaner way to do it by cutting the athlete off the background and putting him on a digital background, which works just as well. So all right, my friends, let's start this edit. Listen, most of my work, I try to get it in camera. I tend not to rely too much on having to do all the work in Photoshop. This particular shoot, I had my typical 3 lights set up. One light coming from the front, high overhead, and the other coming from both sides. Trying to put some action in the shot, trying to make it a little bit more commercial looking. Had an excellent model here. I try not to over process my images, but anytime it's going in for commercial purposes or stock, I tend to, take care of a lot of details. First and foremost, duplicate the background. Just pull it down here where the plus, and you got to duplicate. I'll turn off the background layer and just work on the top layer. Now, I tend to start very simple. I'll work with trying to get rid of the stands in the background. So clone stamp tool, get a nice half or hard edge, and then just pull it right up to the edge of the skin, up to his, there we go. Get rid of the little, try to get as small as possible and get as close as possible so that the magnification is good. If you try to clone this whole thing out, you'll get too many variances. Realize that if you just do it in chunks, by using this tool here, the patch tool. So make sure you clip a little piece out and just go around the edges here, pull it over here, and boom, perfect blend. While I'm here, while I notice this, I'll get rid of that as well. So the patch tool isn't very good at blending edges. That's why I use the clone stamp tool just to get as close as I can to the edge. But you see, if you notice right here, it creates an edge. And so I just use the patch tool to clone that out. So I don't do big patches at the same time. That's why, oh, the hell happened? Photoshop crashed. No, it didn't. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So there you go. So I just cut these pieces out, get my patch tool, and you'll be surprised how well Photoshop blend these edges in. So I'm just going to go Shift Delete, and this will come up, fill it with content aware, and it does the same thing. All right, so the blend is really good here. See, you can't even notice that my clone stamp tool was there. So I'll just patch this piece right here, there, and pull it there, and boom, that's done. Right, to clone each there, bring it where in, that will be my gutter. This one may shut from that. Let's pull back and see what we're doing. Good. Let me turn on the background layer. My stand is almost gone in less than 2 minutes. Let's do the same thing here. Just clone this out. Just grab a similar spot. Let's work on the shadow in the meantime as well. There we go. Patch tool, bring it in as much as you can. Collect the area where you can see the hard edge of the clone stamp tool, and drag it somewhere else. Boom, that's it, it's gone. All right, going up the image. Now, this is where a lot of people tend to have a lot of problems with backgrounds. First, I'm going to clone out the back, this area here. So I got a variety of techniques. I'm going to show you this one. First, let's get rid of this piece here. Let's get rid of the stand at the bottom. I'll get my clone stamp tool, soft brush this time, or soft edge option. I'm using a Mac, and line up my areas, and I'll take this out right here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but close is good. So I got rid of that part. Split this off here so I can use my patch tool. Let's split it here as well, and split it here, and yeah, let's just get rid of that, split that there. So now I got my little easy chunks I can work with. Let's get rid of this one here. Pull that over, good. Here, pull it over, fills it in. Let's get this one, pull it over, fill it in, and then the big piece right here. Let's pull this one up, because I don't want this big black mark to extend over here. So all right, so there, from there to there, that's what we got. We got rid of that. And now I'm showing you a different technique. Here I get the selection tool, grab this, and now I made a selection on the lower part here. And I usually try, first technique is to fill it in with the content aware. So let's see what the content aware does first. I try to make the computer do as much work as possible. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good. The second part is what I do is I take a nice soft brush. So let's grab my brush tool, and let's look for nice soft brush, nice big soft brush. There we go. And I'm going to keep that selection. Get that selection, put it back in there. Okay. And I make my brush, bring my brush opacity down to about 17. I usually anywhere between 10 and 17%. And then I select the color. Very similar color that starts on the outside, and I just start smoothing and brushing it in. So I'm just painting in the bottom part of the background, just so that it blends. Yeah, I don't even need a selection in this case. And see this mark, then I'll soften this area here. There we go. And if some of these shadows are too sharp or too hard, I'll probably just blend these in as well. And while I'm here, I'll blend in some of these creases that showed up here in my background. Okay, so how do we fix this part on the top? Simple. I'm going to make a rough selection just around his hair. First things first, let's see what Photoshop do. Let's do the content aware fill. Let's see what it's going to do with this. I first put it on automatic. Let's see what it does. All right, not a bad job. It took care about 75% of the work, but it does look a little rough. So undo that, Control Z twice, and I'm going to go to File. This is off the recording area, but I'm now going to Edit, Fill, Content Aware. No, that's not what I wanted. I'm now going to go to File, so now I'm going to go to Edit and Content Aware Fill. Now this is off the screen, so you're not going to be able to see this. And it's going to bring up the Content Aware Fill machine. And so do you see these green areas? The computer is basically saying those are the areas it's going to look for to fill in this area above here. And I'm going to exclude his hands because we don't want it to sample that area. His face and his arm. So take that out. Let's see what else, if that changes the preview. Look at the preview over there. Not much. I'm going to take this arm out. Let's see what it does, because I'm only looking to fix as much of this area around his hair as possible. So I'm holding the Option and I'm painting in. I'm telling the computer, look in here as well. I want you to add more brown from this area. Oh, no, I don't like that. So let's take that off because it's looking at the light areas where the big hot spot is. Okay, you know what? I'm going to finish with that. Say apply. Okay. And let's work with this. So I still have the selection. I can then just go to my clone stamp tool and just paint in from above around it. So I'm just sampling areas from around it. There. Let me zoom out, see what I'm getting. I want more from there and in there. Okay. I'll do Control D to deselect that. And see, now it's created two separate layers. I'm going to merge those layers because oops, not everything. Just going to merge these two. I'm doing Control E after I select those, and that will automatically merge those layers. And then in here where you see the that line, I'm selecting it with my patch tool. I just want to patch the line. So technically the only two tools that I usually use a lot for all of these things is the clone stamp and the patch tool, because I love the patch tool. So now we have to take care of the hair. There's many methods you can use to select hair. The good thing about his hair is that there's no smooth lines in it. It's a good and bad thing. So I'm going to get one of my selection tools. So that's just, I love the latest Photoshop because it can just do this little piece of selection here. I can just automatically select areas that I want. Let's see how it works. Okay, so there you go. So now I'm going to use the shift, hold the shift key, and add in these areas here. Add in this. And add in here. So okay, that didn't do such a bad job at all. So now it has selected the areas around his hair, and it's not a bad job. So Control Shift I don't want to select his hair, I want to select everything outside his hair. And I'm going to get my clone stamp tool, clone just next to his hair, and just brush it in there like this. And let's see what we get. So I'm just selecting patches from nearby. Control D, and let's zoom in. Let's see what we're getting. All right, that's not bad. A lot of his hair was already, a lot of the area was already in brown, so that was fine. I just don't like this line that I have right here. And so I'm gonna get a dry media brush tool. Get something a little erratic. Just want to break up that straight line. So I'm just painting randomly in here like this. See, the cool thing is that he has an afro here, and I don't have to worry about being precise. There we go. Yep, that will do it. Looks natural enough. So we're coming from there to there. All right. So let's now look. He has a nasty scar here. Let's just get rid of that. Grab that with the patch tool, pull that down. Let's get rid of those little scars. There we go. And so you just have to go through the skin and sort of select these little blemishes and take them out, just so that it looks nice and clean. My background was a little dirty, but more than likely I won't use this background in the final image, simply because it's not even. It have too many uneven spots in it, and I don't like that. Don't like that. I'm gonna undo that. So usually when I want to just clean it up, get a big brush, nice smooth soft brush, yeah, 10%, and just I'm constantly sampling. I'm just sampling and just going over these areas right here, just to put a little bit more smoothness. Make sure the brush is nice and big. That's too much. Let's go down to 9%. There we go. This is too dark. I will work on just blending that out a little bit. There we go. Let's blend this out a little bit more. Soften these areas out. Nicely done. All right. So the other thing is he's not in the center of the frame. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna work with, let me clear this crop. I'm just gonna work with content aware again, and I'm gonna extend the canvas to the right, bring it in a little bit from the left, make sure content aware is on, and see what content aware gives me. Don't you just love what Photoshop can do for you? I mean, I've been using Photoshop for about 20 years, and I can tell you without a doubt, there was a time when that wasn't even remotely. You know, back in my days, Photoshop couldn't do that. So now, we've come from that to there. So we're getting there. We're getting there. It's starting to look more like a commercial shot where I can just drop in a logo and it would look like, you know, it could have been on a Nike commercial. Okay, so now that we have cleaned off the background, I'm just going to cut him off the background here, and I'll do that by a simple selection. So you can grab any one of your selection tools. Let's start here. Always try to make Photoshop do as much of the heavy lifting as possible. So grab a selection tool and then click on select subject. And as easy as that, Photoshop tries to select the subject, and you can press the shift key and then paint in the areas that it seemed to have missed off. Now you don't even have to get the perfect selection, and I'm going to explain the reason why in a bit. So let's just go around the image from top to bottom and make sure. And there's a new tool right here, the object selection tool. If you press shift and click around, and well, you can do two things. You can do a selection around the object you want to include in the selection. Photoshop will reevaluate, and there, it didn't get it right. So I'm not going to work with that. I'm just going to go back to my older tool, the selection tool here, and I'm going to just make it a smaller and just press hold shift and just paint in the areas that are missing out here. And see, you get a much more quicker results like this. And I just paint in those areas that Photoshop missed out. And I'm just going to go around this quickly so you don't have to watch me do this. You're going to get difficult areas like this. So if you got too much, like in this case right here, you press the Option or Alt key and paint there, and it's gone. All right, so keep going around the edges. And now I'm going to select the mask tool. So there you go. So I've placed that mask on him. There's a black mask that's revealing what's underneath. I'm going to turn off the underneath layer. There we go. And now we just have the athlete floating in space. So this is what I will do next. Now, got to point this out first. You see what I naturally tried to do on set? I have this big hot spot behind him, and it's on a brown background. So there's different varieties and shades of color in this particular mask. I'm going to try to recreate the exact same thing I have here by simply doing it digitally. So I want it nice and clean. So I'm going to create a new layer under this one. So add and then bring it under the top layer. Okay, and I'm going to sample. I'm over here by my color picker tool, and I'm going to sample first the color in this white area. It's not completely white, but it's almost white. Let me pull this in. Yeah, it's pretty close. There, that's going to be my top layer. And the bottom, I'm going to create a brown. I like to go to the areas where it's close to his head, because I want the areas around his head to be much more blended in, and you'll see what I'm talking about later. So I'm going to pick a color in the brown closest to his hair, so I don't have to worry about too much. So now I have a white and brown layer selected here. Then I'm going to go to the gradient tool, and I'm going to select radial gradient, and then I'm going to go to that blank layer which is underneath. I'm going to turn this off just so that you don't get confused. Then pull from the middle outwards, and there we go. So I've literally recreated a background that looks very similar to my original background. So what that does is, if you notice the hair right here, the colors are pretty close. I'm going to sample this hair color right here to get a much more clean color. So I'm going to sample that there. And so it's a darker brown, right? Go back, and I'm going to recreate this again. So masked, I'm on my gradient tool, and I draw out again. And now, if you look here, look, it looks like I didn't have to do any of that work in trying to get this complex, you know, hair selection. He looks like he's blending in here. Now, notice that there's some issues here in his skin where the color of his skin is very similar to the background, the original background. I make sure I go to the mask, right? And I can feather the mask off a little bit. See, I feathered the mask, and it sort of blends in the background with this digital background. Okay, look at the hair, everything is good. Let's look at some other areas. Now, it looks like it sort of blurred the edges a bit, so I'm going to pull it back a little bit because I don't want it to look like it's been blurred. And then I'm going to go back up to his arm, go to the mask, get my white tool, my brush tool, and get a small brush. Let's get this brush nice and small. Okay, there. And then I'm going to start painting in with the white so that I can get a better blend here. Okay, there we go. Oh, it's not working. Why is it not working? Normal. My opacity is down. Let's bring that opacity back up. There we go. So that's it. Get some of those hair on his arm to sort of get back into the shot. Yeah, and then I would go around the image, make sure that there's no other mistakes in there, and clean up any little spots, anything that's any little gaps in his skin and the hair. There we go. Don't go too far over the edge. Usually the selection tool have problems with like fingers and small areas. It's usually in between his fingers and around his knuckles. Those are the areas. But because the background is so similar to the original, then you won't get that problem. So then you need to ask yourself, do you really want that? Because to me it looks really generic. It's just a round color. I would want something else in there. So this is when you start to get creative. There are some other gradient selections here. So I want a different sort of look for the gradient tool. So I'll go back on that background layer, and I'll pull out and see what I get here. All right, that's pretty cool. That's kind of an artistic kind of, I like that geometric look. Let me pull again. Yeah, I think that looks much, much nicer. Yeah, I like that. That seems to be going sort of in line with his body. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna get him, make him look like he's jumping over the line there. more like that. I think that's a cooler look. But you see what I mean when you can create your own digital background? There we go. Yeah, let me see if I can do that. I like that. I think that's better. All right, so there you go. Now, because it's a digital background, it looks a little bit too smooth. So at this point, I will go here, go to filter, noise, add noise, and throw in some digital noise in the background. Let's do a number at 3. And yeah, so that will allow the background to blend in a little bit better with the original. So there you go, guys. The next stage would go through and clean up his skin. All right, so let's do something different. Let's expand him. Let's make him bigger, right? Convert it to black and white. Adjustments, black and white. And just default. And then I'm going to change the blend mode to screen. There we go. And I'm going to pull it into position more here. Bring the top layer back up, the first mask, bring that back up to there, invert it. And that would give you a sort of a silhouette in the background. And drop the opacity a bit. There we go. So you can work your images in so many different ways from there. So let's just, yeah, I like this one. Let's get this one. And then we just go here. Save image as Nike logo. Pull it on there. That's too big. Let's make this nice. Let's put it right here. Just do it. Okay, and because it's white, we'll drop the black, the white background out by changing the blend mode to darken. Boom, and there you go. You now have your commercial. So what do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments. Anything you didn't understand, let me know, and I can make these videos a lot better. So, all right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was just a quick, easy Photoshop tutorial. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please. It's a lot of work to produce these videos. And yeah, take a look at some of other my videos. And if you want to see my lighting setup, how I did this particular video, click on the link below and you'll know exactly how I do my stuff. All right. So I see you guys in the next video. Cheers.